Hello, friends. I am Chevee. Welcome to my shed. How are you today? How's life in your world? How's things where you are? I hope it's fantastic. Everything here is great. And I had to go to my office today, the office where I used to work full time. And we were having a little. Our director's leaving, so we had a little going away thing for him, and just kind of chatted with some teammates. And I saw like people that I haven't seen in 3 years. I mean, 2 years and 11 months to be precise about it, but 3 years. So that was interesting. But the important part of that is on the way there, I took down a note that I wanted to talk about. I tell you what I wrote down. This is not going to make any sense, but it says middle age playbook. And maybe we'll talk about that at some point. I might write about it first before we talk about it. I was going to come back and try to say something about it, but what happened there I want to talk about. And that is because, so we are our own agency, but we are kind of loosely, or we are connected. We have an overseeing agency. So we don't report to the governor or anything like that. We report to a different agency. And so our, I guess, handler, for lack of better terms, from that agency was in. And they are one of our clients. We do a significant amount of stuff for them. A few of the projects that I've managed over the last few years have been for them. A few of the things that we have built, they have purchased off of us. And so I wasn't even sure that this guy knew who I was. But after the little going away stuff, they had a little like managers sort of thing. I'm not involved in it. Even though my my title says project manager, I'm not a manager. So I'm not a personnel manager, so I don't do that type of stuff. So they did their little thing. Then afterwards, he came and found me, and he was like, hey, I just wanted to let you know, I'm really sorry that we had to kill that video. So what he was talking about was we developed an app that we use in-house, and it's a really unique and cool tool, and they saw it and were like, we want that. And so I built it for them, and they asked for like some sort of, you know, they asked for training material, basically. And so I sat down and did a demo video for them. And it was literally, like, that's kind of the attitude I took. Like, this is an internal only thing. This is not for a client. Even though they are a client, they're kind of, you know. And I just sat down and turned on a screen recorder and just went through, here's how you use our app. And then I did some editing because I had to take some extra takes. I didn't write a script. I just talked just like this, recorded it, and made them a video. And he's like, I'm sorry. So what ended up happening was that video was made years ago. I was showing them their actual instance. And so it showed some details for some previous employees. It showed some details for employees who have since passed. And they were like, can we take this down? This is kind of icky. And he came to find me to personally tell me, sorry. Like he's like, I really like that video. You did a really good job on that. In my head, I'm thinking, did I? Like I spent like a half an hour throwing that thing together one day because they needed a training video. And he was like, I think we could utilize your talents in other areas. And I've talked about this before. One of the side effects of doing this for the last 7 years is my ability to do this without any, like, you want 10 minutes on something? Tell me what it is and I'll give you 10 minutes right now. Like, and it kind of is a superpower, right? I think of all of the skills that I've developed over my life, whether it's woodworking or programming or graphic design or lock picking or leatherworking or like just the thousands of skills I've tried in my life. I've always said that I'm barely proficient at most of them. I work myself to a level of proficiency where I can make something that passes as professional and then that's it. I don't go beyond that level. But there's something that came out of this show. There's something that came out of 7 years of talking to this camera that it's hard for me to put into words, because this is a skill. It is a skill to just carry a conversation without prompting, carry a conversation without ums and uhs and pauses, and only. I mean, I definitely pause for effect, and I think I do it sometimes not for effect, but it ends up being for effect because I need to process what I'm thinking as I'm saying it. But there's some sort of weird conversational skill that happens when you do this a lot. And the only way to get that skill is to do this a lot, to just talk about whatever. And so it was really encouraging, because he was like, man, that was a really good, I think we can use your skills in other things. And last night I was at board game night. I went for like a couple of hours. I had a thing to do, so I couldn't stay very long. And while I was there was a reporter there talking to the guy who runs the club. And he came and got me, and he was like, hey, the reporter wants to talk to somebody who's been doing this for a long time, and, can you go do that? And I was like, sure. And so I went and talked to this reporter, and it was the same thing. It was just like, he'd ask me a question, I'd give him just like, no, just go. Like, here's my answer. And he was like, man, that's great. This is perfect. Thank you. So I guess that article is going to run next week. But it felt really good to be recognized for something I didn't even try to develop. I didn't start this show because I wanted to develop my speaking skills. I mean, to be perfectly honest, I started this show because I wanted to develop my on-camera skills. Like, I wanted to, if you haven't looked into the history of why I do this, in the beginning, I had this crazy idea of starting my own talk show, because when I was a kid, I wanted to be David Letterman. Like, that was my job. That's the job that I want. So there was a bit of, I want to be a better on-camera person, but I didn't think that this conversational skill would develop out of that. And I guess it has. Like, in being recognized for it is something that was just kind of like, whoa, thank you. Like, I was really shocked. I was like, man, thanks. That feels really good. And I would totally on board for doing that sort of stuff in the future, for them or for anybody. If anybody comes and says, hey, we'd like to use you to build whatever, video or training material or talk about something. Yeah, absolutely. I don't really have a point. I guess that was the point. The point was to applaud myself. The point was to tell you that I was proud of the fact that I was recognized. That's pretty narcissistic. I don't know. Maybe there's some other larger point to this. Maybe the larger point is, if you want to develop a skill, the best way to do it is to do it. To do that thing. My band teacher used to tell us, practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. And he's right. You can't get to perfection without practicing perfectly. But you can get pretty darn proficient by just trying. You can get better than average by just trying. Just try it. Whatever it is. Thank you for being here as always. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, being amazing friends and wonderful people. I really appreciate you. And I'll see you again tomorrow. Today's word you should know to sound smart is polyphonic. It is an adjective meaning having many different sounds. The guitar is a small orchestra. It is polyphonic. Every string is a different color, a different voice. Andres Segovia, Spanish classical guitarist. Polyphonic. Polyphonic. I guess, isn't every instrument polyphonic? I mean, maybe a whistle isn't, but they're all capable of producing extra. I guess polyphonic would actually mean different sounds at the same exact time, which would be hard to do with a horn, or basically impossible.